All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. Today we're diving deep into the world of web hosting with eUKhost, specifically their VPS solutions.
Yeah, VPS, a topic that's riveting for everyone.
Right. Who doesn't love talking server specs? But seriously, we're going to try to make this interesting, I promise.
One of the great autos.
We're going to be looking at two of their web pages about eUKhost and managed VPS hosting.
And the goal here is to figure out, what is eUKhost really all about? Like, why would someone choose them over the sea of other hosting companies out there?
Yeah. And for me, a big question is always going to be, is this right for me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, will their VPS stuff make sense for my needs, or am I better off sticking with, a basic shared hosting plan? So let's jump in. And the first thing that struck me on their website is how much they push this idea of being managed.
Yeah, they really emphasize that being your hosting partner, not just some faceless server farm.
Right. And it even have this tagline that I kind of love: manage your business, not your server.
Which, speaking as someone who does manage servers, is a very appealing tagline.
Oh, tell me about it. I'd rather wrestle with lines of code all day than mess around with server settings at 3 a.m.
Exactly. And eUKhost seems to get that, because they also say don't be left high and dry, which kind of implies that some other hosts would leave you hanging.
Yeah, a little bit of shade thrown there.
Subtle shade, but yeah. And then they promise support beyond what other hosts typically offer. So they're really leaning into this managed thing. But for our listeners out there, what does that actually mean? Like, managed versus unmanaged hosting, what's the difference?
Okay, yeah, because when I hear unmanaged hosting, I picture like them just handing me a server in a box with a screwdriver and saying good luck.
It's not that far off, honestly. Imagine unmanaged hosting is like you're buying a really powerful car engine. Technically, you could build a whole car around it yourself,
Right,
right?
so you knew what you were doing, maybe.
Exactly. But that takes a lot of expertise, time, and probably some scraped knuckles along the way. Managed hosting, on the other hand, is like they're giving you the car ready to drive off the lot. You can still customize it, add features, whatever, but the core maintenance, the oil changes, the engine stuff, that's all handled for you.
So it's like peace of mind versus total control. And for a lot of people, especially busy business owners, that peace of mind is probably worth its weight in gold, right?
Absolutely, especially if tech isn't your main thing. Now, another thing that jumped out at me about eUKhost, they've been around since 2001, and they say they have over 35,000 customers.
Wow, 2001. That's like ancient history in internet years. So they must be doing something right to last this long.
Right, and that many customers that suggest they've built up a pretty solid reputation, probably by focusing on specific needs and delivering quality service.
Makes sense. It's like that local coffee shop that's been around forever. They might not be Starbucks, but they've got their loyal following because they know what they're doing.
Exactly. And speaking of local, it's worth noting that eUKhost is very UK-centric.
Yeah, all their data centers are in the UK, right?
Right.
Wakefield, York, Nottingham. Why does that matter? Is it just about supporting local businesses?
Well, it's partly that, but there are some technical reasons too. Like, data travels at the speed of light, but even light takes time.
Okay, true.
So the closer your servers are to your users, the faster your website loads for them. And nobody wants to wait around for a slow website.
No, speed is everything these days. What else?
Data privacy laws can be different in different countries. So with eUKhost, your data falls under UK jurisdiction, which might be really important for some businesses.
That's a good point. I hadn't even considered that. All right, so we've talked about managed hosting in data centers, but let's get to the good stuff, the VPS plans themselves. And eUKhost, they've got some interesting names for these plans. Hyperslice VPS SG1, Hyperslice VPS ST6.
Catchy, right?
It's a secret code. What does it all mean? Break it down for us.
Okay, so when you're looking at a VPS, it really comes down to a few key things.
Hit me with the knowledge.
First up, dedicated resources. You'll see things like CPU cores, RAM, NVMe storage. These are the building blocks of your VPS.
Okay, that sounds important, but also a bit like alphabet soup.
Yeah.
What do those even mean for someone who's just, trying to run a website?
Right, so think of CPU cores, like engines in a car. More cores mean your website can handle more visitors at once without slowing down.
So more power, basically.
Exactly. Then you've got RAM, which is like your car's short-term memory. It holds the information your website needs to access quickly. So more RAM means faster loading time.
Okay, that makes sense. More cores, more RAM, faster website.
Got it.
Got it. What about this NVMe storage thing? That sounds pretty intense.
It is. NVMe storage is like the super fast lane for your website's data. It's much faster than traditional hard drives, so your website files and databases load in a snap.
So basically everything loads super fast with NVMe.
I like it.
Speed is key.
For sure. But you also mentioned root access earlier. That sounds powerful. but also a little dangerous. Like,
Mhm.
could I accidentally break my entire website with that kind of access?
You have to be careful, but that's where the managed part comes in. With eUKhost, even though you have root access, they're still handling the back-end server stuff, so you're less likely to accidentally break everything.
Okay, that's reassuring.
And speaking of reassurance, did you notice they offer daily snapshots on all their VPS plans?
Yeah, that caught my eye. What is that exactly? Is it like a screenshot of my website every day?
It's even better. Imagine you're building something awesome with Legos, right? A daily snapshot is like taking a picture of your progress each day. If you accidentally knock something over, you can just refer back to the picture and rebuild it. So it's like a safety net for your website.
Exactly. If something goes wrong, eUKhost can restore your VPS to a previous state using that snapshot. No need to panic.
That's awesome. Okay, so we've covered the key components of a VPS: dedicated resources for speed, root access for control, and daily snapshots for peace of mind. But who is eUKho targeting with all this? Their website keeps mentioning small but powerful VPS.
Right. They're not going after those huge corporations with massive server farms.
So who are they going for?
They seem to be targeting businesses and individuals who've outgrown shared hosting but aren't quite ready for a dedicated server. They need more power and control, but they still want that managed support.
So it's like that sweet spot in the middle.
Exactly. And to make that transition even easier, they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Oh, wow. So you can try it out risk-free. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great deal, especially if you're, dipping your toes into the VPS world for the first time.
Definitely takes some of the pressure off. So yeah, it seems like eUKhost is aiming for that sweet spot of more power than shared hosting, but without the complexity of managing a dedicated server yourself.
Right. They're like the Goldilocks of web hosting. Not too hot, not too cold, just right.
Exactly. And they make it easy to try and see if it's the right fit for you. Now, we've been focusing a lot on their VPS offerings, but I did notice they also mentioned dedicated servers on their website.
Oh, yeah, they do have those too, don't they?
Yeah.
So what's the deal with dedicated servers? Who are those for?
Dedicated servers are like the next level up. If you need ultimate control and customization, that's the way to go. It's like owning your own little piece of the internet.
So for those who are ready to graduate from the managed VPS world and really take the reins.
Exactly. But that's a whole other deep dive for another time.
Totally. Well, there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into the world of eUKhost. We've covered a lot of ground, from their emphasis on managed services to the ins and outs of their VPS offerings.
We've decoded the jargon, explored the benefits, and hopefully given you a better sense of whether eUKhost might be the right hosting partner for you.
And if you're looking for that sweet spot between power, flexibility, and ease of use, eUKhost is definitely worth checking out.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to dive in and explore your options. You might be surprised at what you find.
Happy hosting, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next deep dive.